Chapter 10, Growth and Expansion. Section 1, Economic Growth. The growth of industry. The Industrial Revolution began in the mid-1700s in Britain. It was a period during which machinery and technology changed how people worked and produced goods. Basically, what you're going to see throughout this chapter is how technology influences society, government, culture. You're going to see how technology, its purpose is to make life easier. People want to do less and get better results and more efficient results. And that's the purpose of technology, to make life and work easier. In New England, the Industrial Revolution really took hold in America in New England for a couple different reasons. One is that the soil was poor, so they're not going to rely on farming as much because they can't. Farming was harder. The growing seasons are shorter in New England than they are in the South, and the soil is not as good. The soil is more rocky. They're just east of the Appalachian Mountains, so their soil is going to be not as plentiful. Also, they had many rivers and streams which provided water power for the factories. They're going to use that natural power source to power their industries. It was also close to Pennsylvania, which had coal and iron and other resources that are needed in factories. Most importantly, New England had many ports for shipping. They would be able to import raw materials, mainly from the South, mainly cotton for the textile factories, and they were going to be able to export the finished products that the factories had made from the raw materials. Capitalism is America's economic system. Some aspects of capitalism is that the government has little influence on companies. The government is supposed to stay out of the company's business. It also encourages individuals to invest their money as they choose. The government cannot tell them where to put their money and where to try and allow their money to grow. Part of capitalism is the free enterprise system. In the free enterprise system, people are free to choose how they invest their money. They're free to choose what company they want to invest their money in. Companies are free to make whatever product they wish to make. The company is allowed to do it however they want it, obviously as long as it's legal. But the company is not hindered by the government. Part of free enterprise is competition, and competition makes things better. As a football coach, I know that if I have two good quarterbacks, that those two quarterbacks are going to push each other to do better. Now, it's the same thing in business. If there are two competing companies, they compete over people's money, over people's business. So they are going to try to be the best company. Profits, it encourages profits. It encourages people to maximize profits. Private property and economic freedom are all aspects of the free enterprise system. New technology. The Industrial Revolution is all about new technology. Some of the new technologies are the steam engine, which is going to provide a ton of power for the cotton mills. And then Eli Whitney, he invented the cotton gin. And the cotton gin can be seen as both a blessing and a curse. One, it's going to allow the plantations to produce much more cotton. However, the bad thing is this invention is partly responsible for the renewed interest in slavery, because what one slave could produce a day was about a pound of cotton a day. A slave could produce a pound of cotton a day before the cotton gin. After the cotton gin, they could pull out about 50 pounds a day per slave. So instead of them being okay with, hey, we just increased productivity by 50 times, what this does is it encourages them to get more slaves so they can increase productivity even more. In 1790, a patent law was passed to protect the rights of people who created the invention. This is so that the people who make the inventions get credit for their invention, but also they are making sure that they are paid for whenever their invention is sold or recreated. That's a picture of Eli Whitney's cotton gin. You would put the cotton in the top. You would crank the lever, and it would allow for the seeds to be easier to get out of the cotton fibers. Britain was the center of the Industrial Revolution. It attempted to keep its industrial secrets a secret until this guy named Samuel Slater came along, and he memorized. Sorry about that. He memorized how the textile mill in Britain worked. He memorized the machines. He memorized how everything was put together, and he came to America. And in America, he made his own textile mill in Rhode Island, and he recreated the machines invented by Richard Arkwright. Lowell's Mill, another textile plant in Massachusetts, was established in 1814. This mill brought every step necessary for making cloth under one roof for the first time. This is the first factory in the United States, because what a factory is it puts all the steps under one roof for a certain product, and what this does is it increases efficiency. It cuts down on costs, and it increases efficiency, and it allows you to produce your product much faster. So the factory system is when you have all the steps needed to create a finished product under one roof. Interchangeable parts. Eli Whitney also started the use of interchangeable parts. Interchangeable parts made it possible to produce many types of goods in large quantities. It also made fixing broken tools much easier. Instead of having to throw away the entire tool, you can just fix the part that is broken. There's a picture of Eli Whitney. He had a huge impact on the Industrial Revolution. Agriculture is going to expand predominantly in the South. However, in 1820s, more than 65% of Americans were farmers. In the Northeast, farmers were small, and the produce was sold locally. In the South, however, cotton production greatly increased with the increasing textile industry in New England and Europe. So this goes back to the law of supply and demand. With all the new textiles mills popping up and their need for more cotton, the demand for cotton is very, very high. The invention of the cotton gin allowed farmers to raise larger crops, and they are going to be able to fill the demand that the Northeast is asking for. This is an incredible stat. Between 1790 and 1820, okay, less than 30 years or so, cotton production went from 3,000 bales a year to 300,000 bales a year. We did the math. That is a 10,000% increase. In the West, farmers north of the Ohio River raised pork and cash crops such as wheat and corn. But the amazing thing is the production of the cotton. Cotton was the new cash crop. Later on, cotton will be known as king cotton. Merchant, shopkeepers, and farmers put some of the money they earned back into their business to try and earn larger profits. Low taxes, few government regulations, and competition encouraged people to invest in these new companies. Now, we're really starting to get into some heavy politics here, talking about less government regulations, lowering taxes. I encourage you to discuss that with your parents. The National Bank. The charter for the first National Bank of the United States expired in 1811. However, in 1816, Congress is going to charter a second Bank of the United States for 20 years. Now, they are putting a lot of power into the hands of few. So the Federalists are really going to like this. The Republicans, however, are not. It had the power to establish a national currency and to make large loans. The bank, however, had its critics. State banks and frontier people thought that this bank was giving too much power to the rich and that the rich would only use it for their own purposes. And they wanted to look at the Constitution and they wanted to say, look, is this constitutional or not? They believed in a strict interpretation of the Constitution. They believed that Congress did not have the power to do this. Again, this is a big step in federal government power. Cities are going to change. Just like I said, with technology, it influences all aspects of life. Cities and towns are going to grow as a result of the growth of factories and trade because they need people to work in the factories. Many cities developed along rivers and streams. For example, New York City, Boston, Baltimore were all huge centers of commerce and trade. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Louisville became profitable due to their location near rivers. Cities and towns did not always look like they do today. In the early 1800s, buildings were mostly made of wood or brick. Streets were unpaved. Animals roamed freely. There were no sewers, which allowed diseases such as yellow fever and cholera to grow. Fires could spread easily. There's just a picture of a town during this time. And really, cities were very unclean. Factories were very unsafe. And it's because they're growing. These are called growing pains. And every civilization goes through them. But cities were definitely not the best place to live. Cities did have some advantages, however. They offered many types of jobs, shops, and cultural opportunities. Just with all those people coming together, culture is going to spread, and ideas are going to spread. Jobs are going to be created. Cities offered a chance for a steady income, unlike that of farming, where you were completely reliant upon your crop. Working in a factory allowed you to have a chance for a steady income. Many individuals left their farms for the city for that reason. Okay, tomorrow you need to have this done. Please make sure you do all of the notes. If you have any questions, please email me.